We are now just days away from the official release of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker by writer and director J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio, as well as creator George Lucas. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 is that we do know that this movie is going to be a very controversial movie for a lot of fans around the world, based on what we have been talking about, everything ranging from Rey being called a Skywalker, where she takes the Skywalker name herself and calls herself a Skywalker at the very end of the movie. However, one thing that is really going to be a very interesting sequence that I think a lot of fans will either love or hate it is the moment in the final segment of the movie in which we have both Ben Solo, Rey, and Palpatine. In this video, later on, we will be going over the proof about this leak being true and exactly what goes on in the exact moment between these three core characters of the Skywalker saga and the last film of the sequel trilogy. Now, specifically, shot descriptions consisting of a sequence where it's explained that both Rey and Ben Solo are said to be wielding both Anakin and Leia's lightsabers inside of Palpatine's throne room on the world of Exegol, where they are both said to be in a defensive stance against Palpatine. It's said that one of the sequences involves a moment where Palpatine begins to use Force lightning against both Rey and Ben Solo, where they block the lightning and begin to lose control and fly backwards into a rocky wall into Palpatine's throne room, where Sidious begins to use his new ability called Force Conduit, where he is able to unleash a power connected to the Beyond and drains the life force and energy from both Ben and Rey to the point where they are on the brink of death, where they become lethargic and unable to move. This sequence is explained to be a part of the final scene of the film, where eventually Palpatine unleashes his Force Storm technique, taking down ships that belong to the Resistance above. The scene is said to be very dramatic and quite cinematic with the flashing lights in Palpatine's throne room, where this entire sequence is said to progress to a moment in which Ben Solo gets up and stands up to Palpatine, where he is later thrown down into a bottomless pit by Palpatine, where Rey begins to hear the Force ghosts of the past such as Anakin, Luke, Yoda, and more, reaching out to her where she becomes a part of the Force ghosts and is said to become the chosen one by destroying Palpatine once and for all in the moment at the end of the film. After Rey defeats Sidious, she is said to appear as if she is dead on the ground, where this is where Ben Solo is said to crawl out of the pit and offers his life force over to Rey, offering his life force so that she can survive in the moment. Palpatine's power that allows him to drain the life out of Rey and Ben Solo is said to be a power that Palpatine learned through the spirits of the ancient Sith that are said to be a part of the world of Exegol inside of the Sith Sanctuary. The Sith Sanctuary is said to date back to the days of the Old Republic and even before that, and that Palpatine's throne room is actually a dark temple where the battle between Ben, Rey, and Sidious takes place. Now, on to the proof. Everything related to all of this sequence, I want to go over what the Swedish theater chain had to say in their, warning about the movie, giving out warnings about, potential indicators or things that could initiate seizures, such as flashing lights at the end of the movie, as well as a scary man that can drain the life force out of individuals. Now, this is, of course, a warning to those who have problems with, seizures, and those, who have kids that may be frightened of a man who drains the life force out of both Rey and Ben Solo, indicating that the scene is going to be quite a disturbing segment of the movie, something that we have never seen in a Star Wars film before. Now, I think that some fans are either going to love it or hate it, the fact that there is going to be a segment in this movie where Palpatine uses his power on Rey and Ben Solo that eventually leads to a moment that allows Rey to destroy Palpatine once and for all and becomes the chosen one. The reason as to why I have a problem with this particular scene is that Rey becomes the chosen one and Rey is the one who destroys Sidious. The thing that I do not have an issue with this scene is Palpatine using this new ability, draining the life force from both Rey and, of course, Ben Solo. I don't mind that power too much, even though it seems a little out of place for a Star Wars movie. This is something that you would most likely see in a comic, or maybe even something mentioned in a book, or something around those lines, right? But it is a part of the movie, and this is JJ's way of introducing new Force powers in The Rise of Skywalker. Now, once again, back to that Swedish movie theater chain. they were warning those who have seizures, alright, those who actually have problems with it, about the flashing lights at the end of the movie, as well as for children that may be disturbed by a scary man that drains the life force out of people. So once again, this is a very interesting point because basically this theater chain lines directly up with the leaks that has actually been going around for the very end of episode 9, the final scene between Rey, Ben, and Sidious. Now, the thing about Darth Sidious being defeated by Rey, I think that this is going to be yet another controversial moment in the movie. Not just that, but the fact that she becomes the Chosen One, and how she takes the Skywalker name for herself. She becomes Rey Skywalker. Not that she's related to Luke or Leia or anyone for that matter, but that she just identifies as a Skywalker. And honestly, I think that is by far the most poor choice that Disney and Lucasfilm could have actually chose for this movie. Just my opinion. So, the other piece that I do want to go over here, alright, this actually dives a little bit more into the lore, and this is going to be explained in the official novelization, due for release in March of 2020, so get ready for that if you guys are into that kind of thing, is that this power that Palpatine uses is actually said to be connected to all the spirits of the Sith that are a part of the world of Exegol. Once again, those little dark side whispers that you hear in that trailer that we got the other day that shows, Kylo Ren going over to the world of Exegol, and you hear dialogue of Palpatine saying, "At last, my boy, I have been every voice that you have ever heard inside your head." That entire trailer, you do hear dark side whispers in the background, especially when Kylo is approaching the base that belongs to Palpatine, which, by the way, in reality is really a Sith sanctuary. That's exactly what it really is. So, this entire segment of the novelization due for release next year is going to go over Palpatine's power and how it's made possible. The problem is, not everybody reads the books and the novels and the comics, and that's my only problem, is that a lot of fans don't really read the lore like that. And I think that all of this should be explained in the actual movie of what allows Palpatine to make this power possible. So, like I say, the very end of episode 9, this leak is the real deal. That's exactly what's going to happen. Palpatine is going to drain the life force from both Rey and Ben Solo, and that's exactly how Ben Solo comes to terms that he is too weak to take on Palpatine, decides to take a stand, go up against Sidious, he gets thrown down into a bottomless pit, and Rey is said to take both lightsabers, both Leia and Anakin's, put them in a cross, and deflect the lightning back at Palpatine. That's how he dies, is that he basically is killed by his own power. That's my problem too, is that, okay, Palpatine, he may die by the hands of Rey, but on top of that, he dies by his own power. I just don't understand that. It seems like that JJ just had to throw whatever he could at the very end of the movie as fast as possible, and couldn't come up with any other way that could have killed Palpatine. Could there maybe have been, something a little bit more, connected to the Force, or connected to other characters like Luke and Anakin? Like, originally they were planning on having Luke and or Anakin facing the spirit of Sidious and dragging it into the netherworld of the Force, which, by the way, was done in Star Wars Legends by one of the Jedi. I forgot his name, but one of the Jedi in Star Wars Legends takes Palpatine into the netherworld, his spirit, and destroys him. That's how he kills Palpatine. He becomes a part of the Jedi, and the Jedi dies and becomes a part of the netherworld, and that's how Palpatine is destroyed. They could have done something like that, where it's a little bit more, magical and a little bit more unexpected for Palpatine. For Palpatine, a Sith who has been in training for over 100 years, you would think that he would expect Rey to have even a remote chance of literally deflecting the lightning back at Palpatine, Mace Windu style, times 80. That's what it's going to be like. So that's the very end of Palpatine's life, is that he gets the Mace Windu treatment in reverse, kinda, where it's like what we saw in Revenge of the Sith, except Palpatine dies. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.